What's going on, everybody? Patrick Auger here with the Body Lock. Got my man, Mr. Matthew Wells, with me. And of course, we're talking about big news. Khamzat Chimaev versus Leon Edwards matched up again to headline the March 13th Fight Night card. Big news over here at CNN, Chimaev News Network. Matt, how you feeling about this? You good that we got a date for this matchup again?
I mean, like you said, man, third time's the charm, right? My emotions have been up and down like a roller coaster for this. I've been all over the place with this fight. I've hated and loved and then hated and loved. And now that it's scheduled again, I'm sold on this thing. Just make it happen. I still hate that it is happening because it doesn't make sense. But since they are so adamant about trying to force this upon us to make it make sense, give me the damn fight now. I want to see Leon Edwards go out there and box up a hype train. That's what I'm on right now. So I'm excited for it. I hope it stays together this time. For one, so the fight can happen. Two, so Leon Edwards can get back to action. And then three, once he wins, he can finally get his title shot.
Yeah, I'm with you in terms of I've been really back and forth with my excitement for this matchup. It seems nonsensical from a meritocratic standpoint that Khamzat, having one fight in this division, is now fighting the number 3 guy. There is a lot of hype here. Of course, he's looked phenomenal when he's been in the cage. He's pulled a lot of social media metrics. Dana said during that fan Q&A at the beginning of the month, he talked about being able to tell how many people watched Chase Hooper fight on the Contender Series and his social media stats. And he mentioned Chimaev's stats being around 20,000 followers, I think, on Instagram, and now over 1 million. You know, there's clearly something the UFC sees in Chimaev that they feel the need to push and book in a headlining fight and get him to a title shot as fast as possible. It is at the expense of poor Leon Edwards, who has had a rough go of it ever since COVID kind of knocked everything topsy-turvy when he was supposed to have the title fight, and then he caught COVID and they pulled his ranking and all of this stuff. He's ranked back at number 3 where he belongs. He's now fighting an unranked guy, but a guy with a lot of hype coming in here. Very possible we get Edwards just boxing him up and just derailing that Khamzat train for our sake here at the Chimaev News Network, so we can keep the money flowing. kind of gotta hope for a little bit for the other side that Khamzat goes in there and just starches him, and hype train is real, legit. You got a new superstar or breakout superstar in the making with Chimaev there. But we are on the 3rd booking, as you mentioned. This is the 3rd time we've tried this. Let us say, and I swear I'm not trying to jinx this, and if it gets canceled, I'm going to feel like trash. But let us say that this gets canceled for a 3rd time for whatever reason, injury, something happens. No Khamzat versus Edwards on March 13th. Do you try and book it again down the road? Or do you at that point throw in the towel and try and match up both guys with other people?
No, this is not Tony Ferguson and Habib. I'm sorry. If it falls apart again, just scratch it and move on. Especially if it's an injury or something like that on Khamzat's side and Leon's ready to go. The guy's already been waiting on a year to get back into action for, like you said, the COVID thing. It's really messed up his 2020. And hopefully he can start off 2021 early in the year, first quarter of the year, and, get a high-level opponent or a high-profile win, rather, should I say. Because Khamzat, if he wins this fight, then, yeah, you can officially stamp high-level contender on his name. This is the fight that will prove that for him. But I do want to go back to something he said a second ago for us here at CNN. As we tell stories of fighters, wouldn't a redemption story after the loss to Leon Edwards be a fantastic journey to go down? Let's see him climb that ladder, go out there, a couple more one-punch knockouts, and then he faces Leon, who happens to be holding the title then. What a redemption story that would be.
It would be. I mean, you got a lot of assumptions there. Kamaru Usman is no easy out, and he's fighting Gilbert Burns in February. Whoever wins that fight's holding the belt. Winner of that one is going to be a tough customer for whoever gets the next crack after that. If it is Leon, I'd love to see either of those matchups, the rematch with Kamaru or Gilbert Burns. I think that's a firefight waiting to happen. So I'm all about that. But the one thing I would say in terms of would it be a good redemption story? It could be, but we've seen other hype trains. Most notably, one that comes to mind is Johnny Walker, right? Johnny Walker was starting to ride that fast train at light heavyweight. I think if he had gotten past Corey Anderson, he would have been looking at near title shot levels, was starting to get a lot of hype around him. Then he got knocked out, and he came back and got knocked out again. And obviously that's, hurt him more so the second time around. But even coming back from that first loss, I mean, really took away a lot of, really deflated the hype train. And that's part of the issue when you push a guy like Chimaev so early, is we really haven't seen him tested, and you've built him up already to be so good. If he goes out there and Leon does what I think is entirely possible, just outboxes him for 5 rounds straight and just really makes him look bad. Think of a scenario unfolding similar to what we saw with Stephen Thompson and Jeff Neal, right? Imagine that happens with Khamzat and Leon. That's going to deflate all of the hype out of Khamzat, I would imagine. You'd still have a little bit there, but I think that could really, really hurt him. I'm not sure you could recover from that one.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it also could be like, I think Leon's path to victory is a decision, right? One where he does box him up for the course of 5 rounds. But in that fight, Khamzat could also look good. We have decisions where it's like, hell, the fight of the night, both guys, stocks go up after those types of fights. But yeah, if it's that sort of thing where it's like he just looks, outclassed by Leon on the feet and he's able to stuff takedowns, then yeah, that'll put a real damper on what we've kind of, pigeonholed him into being right now, which is kind of semi like a world beater. He's gone out there and one punch knockout over unranked opponents, and all of a sudden everybody thinks he's, the next champion. He does have all the makings of that from the eye test, but you actually have to go in there and do it against top ranked guys too. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, man. But I'm with you. I'm with you there. A loss to Leon could very well damage his current status to almost an irreparable level. It just depends on how it plays out.
I'd agree with that. I think depending on how the fight goes plays a major factor. If you get fireworks, fight of the night, close decision where they both look phenomenal and it's just, a great fight, I think that's easy enough to bounce back from. If it's what we've seen Leon do to many other great fighters, Rafael dos Anjos, right? That fight, I was cage side for that fight. You were as well.
Yes.
And Leon just, it was just a technique class. and RDA didn't look exactly great following that fight. So if it's something like that, that could really take Chimaev down a level. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Please hit the notification button. Become part of the elite 10% to get the notifications when we drop new videos like this. Let us know in the comments. Do you think Chimaev is going to get past Leon? Does the fact that both of them have had COVID, does that play a factor here in terms of endurance and things? Is that anything that we should consider? Would it be very bad for Chimaev if Leon, outclasses him like we talked about? And would it be terrible for Leon if Chimaev wins? I feel like that's an easier answer in terms of that sets it back quite a bit. But, I guess to wrap this one up, Matt, given that this is the third time we're talking about this fight, given that now both fighters have had COVID, is there any change in what we think is going to happen? Is there any, any lack of anticipation now that, again, we are on number 3 in terms of bookings?
No, I mean it's just it has to happen at this point, right? I think the fact that both of them have gone through things outside of the cage, it kind of washes it out for me. I don't know how they're going to respond to it. You know, everybody responds differently to these sorts of things, so I can't really say either way if one's going to be affected by it more or less. But you know, like you said, this is the third time, and there's a lot of omens. Like there's some bad omens circulating this, right? It's the third time. It's on March 13th. You know, it's what Khamzat has 3 fights in the UFC. Like there's too many threes surrounding this right now. So let's just hope we break through that wall of jinxing and make sure this fight gets off, and we can all just celebrate what happens after the fact.
Yeah, it's superstitions. Yeah, this isn't looking so great. If you're looking at all those threes and numbers, please, MMA gods, let's make this fight happen for everybody. I think we can all agree on that one.